Hey guys, welcome to MinTech. As the title says, today I want to go over malfunction issues with any firearm where there is a failure to fully eject a magazine. You might get a situation where you hit your mag release and it only goes this far. And so today's episode I'm going to show you how to solve that issue, whether it's a Canic, whether it's a Glock, or any other polymer type pistol that might be on the market, because I know that it's been more than just a Canic or a Glock that this has happened to. So stay tuned. Alright, so the reason that particular issue happens is twofold. You either have let me get my flashlight. Let me get my flashlight. It happens two ways. There's either a manufacturer issue, too tight of tolerances, I think is what happened with my Canic, with their magwell, and you can see that there are two ridges, both the left and right hand side of the gun, that help guide your magazine. So it could be an issue of manufacturer tolerances, or it could be an issue of mag tolerances. Now I know that sometimes when you're running your same magazines and you're hitting the range, you're doing your defensive drills, these can actually become a little bit deformed. The heat does take a toll on your magazines, and so there are several ways that you can solve this issue. Now, one of the ways that I've seen before is that you can take a heat gun and actually heat this up. You don't want it to melt, for goodness sake. You don't want it to melt, but you do want to heat it up high enough where if you tape this up with painter's tape, blue tape, heat this up and throw that in there and leave it for like 30 minutes, it will reform around your magazine. Okay, so that helps out. I've seen it done with polymer 80s before, and the same concept should apply to anything that is a polymer type frame. So you don't want to heat up the whole gun, it's just the grip area, and make sure that you don't melt the dang thing. So the other option is, which I choose to use because you're not gonna ruin the internals or change anything as far as your composite, is to actually take I'll take this out. To actually take some 400 grain wet sandpaper, and I'll actually form it to, you can actually put it on your magazine if you want, form it to your magazine, you know, you can cut it off, and basically what you're going to do is just sand those ridges down a little bit so that it forms better to your magazine. And I had to do that with this one. In fact, I actually took some wet sandpaper, the 400 grain, and sanded down the magazine itself. And so now what I have, it is clear. See, there's no issues. There's no bullets inside my magazine. And now what I have is boom, boom, every time I have a drop magazine. So, but you also have to you have to train for failure. Okay. Failure to train is training to fail. That's how my wrestling coach would always approach anytime we went out on the mat. Okay, failure to train is training to fail. And so, in the situations where you do eject and it's only half cocked like that, you want to make sure that you are cognizant every time that you eject that magazine, similar to any time you get a failure to feed or failure to eject. You have to train for those circumstances. And so if that occurs, you have to be leery, you have to be aware that your magazine has not completely dropped out. And the way that I like to approach it, excuse me, winter's coming, it's messing with my throat. It's not COVID. Anyway, so when I'm going to leave my slide lock back, but when I pull up and I'm going to shoot what my trainers have always showed me is that when you're pulling back, you're pulling the elbow to the side and turning your pistol to the side and ejecting. So you're ejecting at this point, right? You're ejecting at the time that you see that your slide is locked back. And a lot of guys will automatically go for their magazine and draw that secondary or tertiary magazine and put it up there. Well, now you have this issue where this magazine is now in the way of your secondary magazine coming up. And so what I like to do is when I pull down like this, at the same time I am just feeling for that magazine as I go for my next one. So it really cleans the step up of pulling that next magazine out. It eliminates the time where I'm pulling that magazine, the new magazine up. Let me just grab one. Alright, so got my mag in my mag holder. I would stand up and do this, but in that corner it's kind of dark, so I think you can get the idea. But essentially, like I said, when I'm up here, slide is locked back. I recognize that, and at the same time as I'm going to get my magazine, my secondary magazine, I'm also feeling with my pinky, because there's a purpose to a pinky, to figure out if that magazine is in there. If the magazine is ejected, I'm using my my audible, but also my peripheral vision and touch. So you're using most of your senses to make a game-changing change. Okay, so I'm coming back. I'm feeling. Okay, if I do feel it, I'm stripping at that point. Because what is the point? This is you're coming back, elbows in your side. What is the point of feeling it, not doing anything about it, and now I have to pull my magazine, and with my pinky I'm now pulling the magazine out. I didn't want to drop it on my chair or my goods, and now I'm putting this in. That's a waste of time. Again, I can, let's say it's half cocked, I'm coming down, I feel it, I strip it, I go back into my magazine, and then I'm back in the game. So there's less time spent on doing that. It's more efficient than trying to go for your magazine first and then pulling your magazine out to put your secondary magazine in. So hopefully that's helpful. Always pay attention when you eject my magazine. It is clear, slides open. Always make sure that when you're at your range that you're dropping your magazines free, so you know that if your magazine has some sort of deformity, you address that deformity. And if all of your magazines are dropping free, but this one right here, then you know you need to address this magazine itself. You either take care of the issue with the magazine or you get a new magazine. You don't want something that's going to trip you up in a self-defense situation. So hopefully that helps. I've seen a lot of people posting on this very issue. So like I said, heat gun, remold, or easiest for me was to use the 400 grit sandpaper, sand those ridges down because they are tight tolerances, and take care of it that way. Now, I have all my magazines dropping out just fine now. So hopefully that's helpful to anybody out there. And any questions, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit the bell for indications. If you have a comment, leave them down below. If there's anything else that you can share as far as your knowledge and wisdom, I'd like to hear that down there. Otherwise, if you want a fantastic shirt like this, and I'm gonna sell these guys as much as I can because Sean is such an awesome guy. If you want a shirt like this or anything that is military-based, 2A, patriotic, make sure you go to the link, and I will provide it below, to the CFGear or Kinetic Fanatic Gear on the Etsy store, because they got all kinds of good stuff. I'm hoping my son's going to give me that sweatshirt, because that is something I really want, because here in Minnesota it gets cold and it gets snowy, and I want to show off my colors. Alright guys, have a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. I appreciate your subs, I appreciate your comments. All this feedback, all this interaction, I really enjoy it. So I always go to my page and check you guys out. So anyway, you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks.